All right. Okay, so everybody, thanks for having me. My name is Galen Keene, and I live in Southern California. I am not near the fires. I am like an hour and a half away from the fires. We definitely are getting some smoke from the fires. When there's fires happening in Southern California, it makes for the best sunsets. I know I'm not trying to make jokes or anything like that. There are some silver linings, but that's typically how you know a fire is going on. Um, we have flare-ups quite often. We just had one on Friday, literally within a mile of my house. So I know the drill. And that being said, we're going to move from uh, talking about cool things like fires, and there's lots of management and tasks that are being managed there. I've actually gotten an inside look at how they manage tasks and the plan around fires and then multiple fires like this. We've got some colleagues that are firefighters and in senior management positions that have shown me how they actually go about doing that and shifting priorities and working with goals. So, for those of you that are into project management, hey, things are done the same, just at a larger scale, regardless of what the project is. So I'm excited to be here today and talk about some project management capabilities and planners specifically. Let me get my PowerPoint shared. I think what I'm going to do is share a screen because we're going to bounce around into demo land as well. All right, so Plan Like a Pro with Microsoft Planner. We'll talk about some planner basics um, and go into a little bit of the origin story behind Planner. I want to share some product SKUs with you. There's basic planner, and then there's some additional capabilities you can get with some investment into licensing. We'll review what those are. We'll go into planner and teams. That used to be more of a differentiator, your experience of planner in teams versus planner in the web. And we'll talk about software boundaries and limits, take a look at Planner's roadmap and what Microsoft has in store for us. And as we do this, I don't mean to PowerPoint you to death. That's not the intent today. We definitely want to dive into the tool, see how it works, talk about strategies to maximize your investment in it. So we'll try to get through these PowerPoint slides as quickly as possible. And there's definitely some nuggets that I'd like for you to kind of load in memory, if you will, so that we can refer back to them throughout the demo, especially around the software limits and boundaries. Uh, Quickly, like I said, my name is Galen. I live in SoCal. You can use those QR codes to get in touch with me. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. I do run a consultancy out of Southern California. We do work in the modern workplace space primarily. I do a lot of operational work. In fact, I'm a strategic partner with Smarter Consulting. It's like one of the coolest things that's happened to Lion Tech. And for me, over the last 12 months, is to partner with Sharon and the Smarter Consulting team to work with them strategically around operations and project management. So, as for the cool things that Lion Tech does, that's certainly one of the cool things. I also am the president of the San Diego Microsoft 365 Productivity Group, and we inherited that name. Otherwise, it would not have been so long. Please do look us up on Meetup. We would be happy to have you at a meeting. We'd be happy to host you if you'd like to speak. So please connect with us, connect with me, and I'd love to see you at one of those meetings as well. I'm recently awarded MVP with the help of some of the people that are in this meeting today. I have some certifications in Microsoft technologies and look to put those to use both as an engineer and from a project management perspective. All right. So, as we transition to discussing task management, I want to ask for you to kind of prepare your phone. I've got some polls I'd like to have you participate in, if you will, so we can get a sense of what you use for task management. There's a lot of task management options out there. Microsoft certainly doesn't make it easy to select the one that you want to use or should use. There's some help out there in the space to make those decisions. But I think it's an interesting question. Which task management option do you use? There's a lot of them. So if you are able, please scan this QR code, go to that's enter that Slido number 4173382, and just tick off the ones you use. This poll will automatically update as you respond to it. Um, if you don't want to, you don't have to, but I thought it'd be interesting to see what folks are using. I know for me, I think I use almost everything on this list, which adds to the confusion of what to use when, right? Which tool is the best tool for the job? Um, I often find that when talking to people about task management, it's like, which tool do they like the least instead of which tool do they like the most? It's kind of an interesting way of looking at it, right? So we'll just leave this open for a little bit. It's really cool to see so many people using Planner. I think that that's certainly Microsoft would be pleased to see that. Outlook being, Outlook and OneNote being right there at the top, that certainly makes sense to me. Um, Teams, awesome that Teams is there. Seeing to do, I might have put to do in there a couple of times by mistake. Apologies for that. I don't know if we should add 50 and 44% and make that 94. For the sake of this session, I think we'll let Planner stay at the top. So the point here is that there's a lot of tools to choose from, and what to use when is the question that, as a consultant, we're often answering for our clients. But even within our space, what should we use when? I've talked to Sharon about this in terms of managing projects for smarter consulting. What do we use when? Um, we'll dive into that in a little bit. Now, what is Planner? We all are using Planner, I think it's safe to say. And Microsoft's vision for Planner is to create a very simple and easy to use task management tool that delivers views to you in Kanban boards, that's simple, that has the fields that you need to use, and makes it accessible across all of the M365 apps and services so that you can access it anywhere. You don't have to have a VPN connection, all of those great things, right? The idea is that you can use it from soup to nuts through project ideation all the way through delivery and closeout. Some of its core features include obviously that it's managing tasks, but it's doing that in a very simplified way. So you can easily create a task, checklist items within it, assign that task to a team, visualize that in a number of different boards. It's a very simple tool to use. Collaboration is at its core, so it's easy to share those tasks out, share those plans out, and work on them collectively as a team. It does bring some charts and other ways to show progress and track progress through dashboards and visualize that work. And then finally, it's accessible through many different platforms, desktop, mobile, everywhere and anywhere where you have an internet connection. So that's the goal. I think that, Planner was really a response from Microsoft to the growing use of competitors' tools. So it was born on June 6th of 2016. Its code name was Highlander, and it was developed in-house by Microsoft. It wasn't a product that was purchased by Microsoft and then kind of rebranded. This was something that they developed in-house. And like I said, I think that this was direct response to the pivot that clients were making to other task management tools. You have the big hitters out there like Jira, and some of the more lightweight tools like Asana, and Microsoft was seeing its um, licensing in the task management space slip away. Planner is a great response to that. Very simple, intuitive, and easy to use task management, which provides several benefits, right? All leading to the success of our team. That simplified task management, seamless collaboration, democratizing project management tasks. So, making the ability to manage tasks in a centralized location simple enough that anybody can do it, so that we can enhance our productivity and measure that visually when needed within the tool. And that creates more of a scalable, connected ecosystem when you plug it into Microsoft 365 and Access Planner from the other tools within the platform, i.e., Teams. So it's a great tool to accomplish all of that. Now, when we say it's a great tool, there are a number of SKUs that exist out there around Planner. And it's important that you know which SKUs exist and when to use the SKU that you need. So we'll talk about these SKUs briefly and then transition into some funner things. There is a basic SKU. The basic SKU is included with your standard license. So when I say standard license, think of like your enterprise license, your business basic, business premium. That license that grants you access to Office 365, M365, SharePoint, and Teams, that's giving you a basic planner license. There's some additional quote unquote premium licenses available. There's Planner Plan 1, Planner and Project Plan 3, and Planner and Project Plan 5. So, in addition, building on top of Planner Basic, which gives you that, fundamental task creation, task assignment, task tracking capability, Planner 1 adds the integration of Power Automate. It adds surfacing your tasks into Microsoft To Do. It's really ideal for, you know, team kind of task management. And then Planner and Project Plan 3 starts to combine Planner capabilities with Project for the Web capabilities, another project management tool. That includes things like Gantt charts, resource management, timeline planning. It's a tool for more complex task management, maybe multi-phase projects. And then Planner and Project Plan 5 adds additional premium capabilities, not just from Project for the Web, but from Project Online. You'll get portfolio management with Plan 3. You get portfolio and project management from Plan 5 with integration into project kind of online capabilities. So let's look at that kind of feature set here. These basic features are included with these plans, these enterprise plans, these small business plans, and these basic features and capabilities allow you to do all of these things. And if you are licensed just with basic, you can perform these basic features or take advantage of these basic features within premium plans. So you do not have to have a premium license in order to perform activities in a premium plan. The premium subscriptions, and this is just like, some of the, high level things here, things like um, colored buckets, right? That's in premium. Uh, Adding dependencies between tasks, that's in premium. These are some of the things that I like to use in my task management that are available in premium. The dependencies is a big one. So That's the snapshot of the difference between basic and premium. At the end of this deck, and I hope to share this deck out with all of you, there's some links to some additional resources that have much larger differences between the different SKUs. All right, so features and scenarios. Basic is really, core functionality, bucket and card-based views with task assignment. Plan one gives you that workflow. Plan three gives you the dependencies, timelines, Gantt charts, resource management, workload balancing. Plan five, portfolio management. You do get some portfolio management and road mapping out of plan three, but it's the portfolio management with project online tracking that you get in plan five. Did somebody have a question? And if you have a question, just raise your hand or come off of mute. I'm happy to answer. All right. Some quick examples of usage just to align these particular SKUs with where you might use them within project management. Planner one, marketing teams, automating approval workflows for campaigns. These are just some ideas that I'm throwing out there. Project plan three, really good within IT departments, managing a multi-step software deployment project as an example. This is the SKU that I like to manage for software projects. If I have some enterprise level requirement, then I am going to plan five. But surprisingly, I've been able to use plan three very effectively for the bulk of the projects that I work on. So I want to go back to a quick poll for all of you that were using Planner, and there was quite a few of you. Now that we've gone through the SKUs and talked about some of the features from both premium and basic, which Planner SKU are you guys using? And if you want to go back to this poll, you should be able to fill out a response, and we can see, what y'all are using. And I think Planner Basics should definitely be up there. That's where we all start. Pretty cool that you get so much capability for free. Uh, or nothing's really free, right? Apologies for using that word. But with the inclusion of your O365 or M365 license, pretty cool that you get Planner Basic included in that. So, some Project Plan 5 usage as well. That's awesome. As we go into demo, it'll be really cool to see and talk about which features you're using most out of Plan 3 and Plan 5. I'm very interested to hear how you're using those licenses. And I see your comment, Rob, about Planner Plan 1 not being available in EDU tenants. I'll take a look into that more. But it looks like Tony did respond with the link. And like I said, in my resources at the end of this deck, I've got a bunch of links to all of this stuff as well. I did go through this weekend and pull all of this right out of Microsoft's documentation. So we do need to get aligned, and Microsoft doesn't always publish the most up-to-date documentation with respect to licensing, right? That upside down smiley face that somebody put in there is kind of how I feel when talking about Microsoft licensing. I don't know if I would say it's a smile, but that's at least how I feel. But I wanted to go into this first so that we could kind of set the foundation for some of the different capabilities as we explore Planner. So Planner in Teams is really where we're trying to drive all task management performed in Planner. The Planner app in Teams brings it all together. As the app has evolved, it's become more and more on par with what you get out of the web-based tool. It includes, your day, your tasks, your plans, and the ability to create new plans. Really, the Planner app in Teams is the one central place where you can go and manage all of your tasks. There are some restrictions. For example, can you update or action tasks that were created in Project for the Web in the Planner app in Teams? No, you cannot do that, but you can see them there. So there are some, no, that doesn't change because the app is in Teams. You couldn't do that in Planner either way, but the Planner app in Teams is delivering now everything that was delivered in Planner for the Web. So there's a lot of capability there, and you get all of that delivered within Teams. Um, I like to say that the pros are that you're in Teams. It's the single pane of glass that you get, some focused collaboration. So you can, make links and things right in chat to and reference your planner plans. You get notifications right through Teams. I there This cons of Planner that you're going to see next is somewhat old hat. This is really changing. There's some updates that have been made, which no longer limit the views that you could see. For example, the charts view that can now be seen. The cons of Planner and Teams, this is really for plans that are connected to Teams, is the team sprawl. So if your teams are not well organized, if you don't have a plan for managing your plans, then you could experience team sprawl and not understand which plans are connected to which teams. So for that, I definitely recommend that you have a naming convention for your plans, especially those that are going to be connected with teams, that you factor in how you're going to align those plans with teams and or channels. This will ensure that you know where, what those plans are associated with. And then you create and manage tasks directly in teams. I think if you can get everyone leveraging Planner within teams, then you'll see a consistent approach to how you collaborate on those tasks. Any questions or thoughts before we pivot away from the content on Planner in Teams? Is everyone using Planner in Teams? Anybody find it difficult to use or want to add an anecdote around their experience with Planner in Teams? All right, we'll keep on trucking. So software boundaries and limits. There are some interesting limits around Planner. Plan limits. There's actually in basic plans, there's 400 tasks, I believe, and premium plans have 1,000 task limit. And there's actually some updates coming around that where those limits will be increased, specifically around premium plans. What is really interesting for me is that there's a maximum number of buckets, which a bucket is like an organizational unit for tasks. And there's a maximum number of 200 buckets per plan. There's a maximum number of 20 checklist items in a task. And there's labels that you can apply to tasks. There's a maximum number of 26 of those. So I like to lay out all of these limits. These are the items that I mentioned at the beginning of the talk that we'd like to load up in memory because we'll come back to them. They definitely would influence how you would build out your plan, group tasks, whether you're going to group them into buckets or you're going to group them by labels. Knowing that you have 26 embedded labels as a maximum and 200 buckets as a maximum per plan, those are key numbers to remember so that you create or organize your tasks in the right with the right layout, with the right framework. Um, There are also some task limits. Like I said, 26 labels per task, but 20 assignees per task. For those of you that have been working with project management, I can't imagine assigning a task to 20 people. That just makes me kind of laugh and cringe all at the same time. But there's the ability to do that. Maximum tasks assigned to a user, 3,000. Maximum task created by a user is 20,000. Um, that's pretty interesting stuff there. Uh, Now, I hope we never run into these limits, but I'm sure that these limits are going to be increased over time. I've never um, heard of a person running into these limits.
Hey, Galen,
Yes, sir.
I've run into the maximum tasks created by a user limit 3 times now.
Really?
Yes, it's because I have a service. It's an account, a user account that we use for service for creating our project sites through Provision Point.
Ah,
And those
okay,
project
service account.
sites, each project site has two plans on each site, and each plan has piles of tasks because they're using it as their checklist. It's
Uh-huh.
construction. And so I've hit that 20,000 limit, I think 3 times now.
Interesting architectural limitation, right? So, especially within the context I think you're describing via provision point, where you may have to think about how you're provisioning. It sounds like project management sites using the construction space. Yeah, very cool. Um, the max assignees to a task would probably use the maximum time length for completion. That's awesome, Rob. I'm just kind of going through chat here to make sure that I catch this in the moment. Um, there's also a limit to how many plans and tasks an individual. Yes, there is a limit to how many you can create. And then there's also I should have gone back here. I didn't highlight this, that there's maximum contexts on a plan. And this is a context is an association between a plan and some type of host container. It used to be where you could uh, put a, display a plan via a tab in a team. You cannot do that any longer. So, um, but that was an example of a context or an association. So there's a maximum number of 10 of those. That's an interesting limit to keep in mind. All of these are very much for your architectural decisions with respect to how you govern Planner, roll it out, and how you might configure things like, provisioning services, as Jonathan was mentioning. Yeah, so some of those miscellaneous limits, some of the other things like goals. This one really bites me all the time. There's a maximum number of goals. Microsoft suggests 3 to 5 goals per plan. I can tell you that the way I use goals in terms of tracking, major milestones in a project, 10 is not enough for me. So that's been some of the feedback that I've had to the team is, 10 goals is just, it's not enough. And I understand the difference between a goal and a milestone, but I certainly use more goals than 10. So looking out to the future, there are definitely some changes coming down the road, including task level variants on baselines, board views, and my tasks, unified planner tab experiences and teams, and an increased number of tasks and dependencies per premium plan. All of these features are currently in development. They're in the rollout phase if you look at M365, the M365 roadmap, but they're actually in development. So I think they're scheduled to be rolled out. I have not seen all of them in my tenant, although I'm definitely being notified about them in my tenant. And so I'll show you where I've seen those notifications in just a minute or two. So, um, any questions about the deck? Because I think we're just about done with it and we can pivot away from it. Let me move to a different screen here. All right, so we've got my tenant's view of Planner. I'm going to go ahead and refresh this. You'll note at the top that what I'm displaying is the homepage of M365, now rebranded to M365 Copilot. So just came out. You'll see some of the upcoming meetings that I have on this page, some of the files that I use to prep for this. I always like to see enhancements of Copilot for PowerPoint, so I took a stab at leveraging Copilot to create this deck. Um, I, like I said, I like to put that to the test as often as possible. From this location, you can click on the waffle here and gain access to Planner. It might already be pinned on your left rail. And once you're in it, you'll come to a location where you see on the left-hand side, depending on how you're licensed, you might see My Portfolios. You might not. If you have the basic license, likely you will not. As I said before, there's some options for viewing tasks, including My Day, which is really great. It gives you a look at your day. And this is showing me what's in To Do, which is why I have To Do opened in another tab here. Planner is aggregating tasks from several different locations, To Do being one of them, um, project for the web being another. I can go to my tasks to see what's assigned to me and filter based off of that. This is what's coming right from a project for the web or plan. And I've got just a couple of simple plans out there that are showing me a few things. There's flagged emails. I'm not even going to click on that because, gosh, it just shows way too much. Private tasks, all tasks, which will include flagged emails. Flagged emails is a way for me to prioritize the stuff that I will likely never do. uh, as well, you've got my plans over here, and you can see that there's a number of all of the plans should be accessible here, and you can filter them based off of whether they're shared, personal, or pinned. I've got several pinned plans for the sake of this demo. And then there's my portfolios. Portfolios are a way to manage several plans. Now, I kind of had to rejigger portfolios for the purpose of this demo. We'll come back to this in just a moment, but it's it's not working exactly how I intended it to work for the sake of the demo. Now, like I said, I've got several plans out there. Some of them are built out more than others, and it's very easy to create a new plan. I simply click on the new plan button in the lower left, and once I come here, I can see a number of different things. Hey, if I wanted to start from scratch, I could. If I want to use a template, I can. And in fact, I'm gonna click on all templates so that we can see there are versions of templates that leverage the basic SKU, and within those templates, there are versions that leverage the premium SKU. And it will tell you right at the bottom what the key benefits of the premium SKU or that template are. So keep this in mind. There's a lot of capability here. If you need to manage a software development project, you have a basic license, you can get some of the foundational concepts that we discussed previously. If you want to leverage or you have a premium license you'd like to leverage, then you can add some additional capabilities into the mix when you choose the premium tier. So it's pretty easy to do. You can simply click on it, choose software to choose to use it. I'm not going to add it to a group. I'm going to come back to that in just a moment, but I'll go ahead and click on demo 2 and then create, and it's going to build the plan straight from that template. So you can see that it's really giving me a phased approach to the plan. It's adding in some labels. So we can go ahead and look at, what labels it's already created. There's 26 of these for your use, and you're off to the races. Now, great to begin from a plan such as this to go ahead and create what you need. And I'm just kind of looking at chat here to make sure I'm caught up with questions. Rob, I think you've asked, is Planner and Project for the Web Power Up going to merge into one product? I cannot say whether it is or not. It certainly seems like that is the trend, that much of the Project for the Web capability is being merged into Planner. The way the licensing structure is created, I think it creates the capability for Microsoft to do that. Um, the the response I would have to that is, when did you hear of the last, project online or project server enhancement? Right? I haven't heard of one in a long time. So I think that Microsoft's goal is to roll all of that advanced enterprise capability into Planner and ensure that task management is consolidated as much as possible. As you saw in the poll at the beginning, there's a lot of choices for what to use when, and that creates a lot of confusion. So I think Microsoft's goal again is to consolidate into Planner. Um, yes, thank you, Sharon. Make your voice heard. If you have thoughts around this, definitely let Microsoft know. Um, and then Diane, you asked a question. Any consideration of enabling renaming or labeling the items pinned? Um, is this so that I could sort them? Can you confirm that I'm tracking with you to be able to sort these pinned items? Is that right?
Yes, sorting them in a specific order, like project order, things like that, versus just alpha. If you have a folder that says archive, it's always on the top.
Right. Yeah.
But if
No,
you do a zero
I
dot space project
I
something, zero dot, 1, 2, 3, 4, you get a force sort.
yeah, so
Easy to find.
in my experience, this pinned order is based off of when you pin them, right?
hmm And it gets unpinned or moved around.
That's right. That's right.
But it's easy to lock it in.
Yeah,
It's just
that's
my OCD thing on the.
there is no way to do that. Yeah, that
Yeah,
that would be great, right?
I do it in Outlook. I do it in my emails and everything, but so far not here, not in that part yet, because it gets
And you
kind of
can do
scattered when they're really busy.
and you can do it in to do as well. You can move around your
Good
lists
to know.
and things like that. So I agree. That's great feedback. All right. So once we're in a plan, super easy to add a new task. Simply, add a task. And once it's here, you can choose to indent it, make it a subtask, or outdent it, promote it. Um, you can edit the details of the task through the details pane that pops open on the far right just by clicking on the little eye. And there's a number of configuration dependencies that you can add. Now, I must tell you that I have the Plan 5 license associated with my account. But really, for the most part, I do not need it. I just used Plan 3, and I do use Plan 3 for the work that I do. I especially like the dependencies, and I leverage a lot uh, the effort, although it's not as easy to leverage as I'd like it to be. So let's maybe take a look at some of these other plans, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So this is a sample plan for a project. It doesn't really matter like what the project is. This is a bunch of tasks around an Intune implementation. The first phase of one. And what I like to do is go ahead and look at the grid view like this, and I'll start to add a bunch of tasks. Notice that these tasks are not grouped at all in any type of hierarchy with subtasks in this grid, and but they totally can be. I'm simply organizing them based off of the sprint that they belong to, the label that they belong to, and the goal that they're associated with. So, how did I create sprints, labels, and goals? I think we saw a little bit the creation of labels, simply clicking on that space for the label and choosing an existing label or modifying one so that it fits my needs. If I click over to the board view, this gives you that Kanban board experience. And here I'm grouping by bucket, right? But I don't have to group by bucket. I can change that grouping on the right such that maybe I'm showing the groups based off of labels, or maybe I'm showing the tasks based off of the sprint that they're assigned to. And this is how we work the work most often. So I've got a bunch of sprints that have already been planned, and I can add new sprints here. I definitely have feedback for Microsoft on like where the sprint that you create is placed. So if I were to create sprint 8 and make that, let's see, where are we for 29? These dates are kind of they were randomly well, they weren't randomly selected, but they were selected based off of some kind of templating here. So sprint 8 is now placed on the far right. I'd love to kind of inverse this where sprints are pushed to the right hand side and sprint 1 is on the left, but that's how they're laid out, and we simply take tasks out of our backlog and move them into a sprint. That is typically how we work the work when we're managing some of these projects that are laid out and using an agile methodology. Does anybody else use sprints primarily in their boards for managing tasks? Am I the only one? Any feedback there? All right. Now I feel on an island, everybody. Thank you. uh, would anybody like to comment on how they manage tasks in boards, how they group them? What are some of the most successful ways that you find for the tasks that you manage? Anybody want to take a stab at it? Status, due date? Yeah, thank you, Joshua. So some other ways to view the tasks include oop, due date, assigned to maybe. Uh, but yeah, I think the progress, right? In this case, nothing started. This project hasn't started. It begins on the 20th is when it's scheduled to begin. So we could take a look at some other projects to see how they've worked over time, including a timeline view. We'd have to kind of go back in time to see this one. But when you're looking at the timeline view, the Gantt chart, you can see things like critical path if you've established dependencies. So that's a really cool feature that I like in Planner, is that critical path view. We'll switch back over here to the timeline. I do not have dependencies throughout this project to show that critical path, but there is the capability to do that. Basic Planner, Lisa, does not have the sprint capability. Yeah, that's one of those premium options. So, now if you have multiple plans to manage and they're all related, then you may have a portfolio. So, how do you manage multiple plans? That is through portfolios. In this case, I've created a portfolio named Intune Implementation. Within that portfolio, I can add plans, and I've added a couple of them here. To do that, I simply clicked on add a plan, and I could see the available plans that I could add. Now, note these are all plans, premium plans that were built with the license, with that plan 3 or plan 5 license. So because those are premium plans, they can be added to the portfolio. When you add them to the portfolio, you're kind of wiring them up here, and there's a flow that's going to keep the status of those plans in sync with the portfolio. So I can connect it, and this puts or establishes a refresh, a sync job that will sync the status of the project up to the portfolio. And I'll just say that this one has not started. And what's cool about that is if I wanted to create a roadmap, and let's click on roadmap here. Now you can see the 3 plans that I've added to the portfolio. What I'm supposed to be able to do is now add some tasks. Maybe there's one or more tasks from each of the plans that I want to track in this roadmap. So you can imagine that for an Intune implementation project, that I might want to track when the PCs are enrolled in Intune, or when the devices, is the term I should have used, are enrolled in Intune. Maybe when the compliance policy creation has been completed. There's a number of milestones that I might want to add from the projects, and then view those milestones in this roadmap. So to add those tasks, including milestones from each plan to this roadmap view, I click on Update Items. And this is what stopped working this morning. So I built this all out over the weekend, and this stopped working. When I click on update there, what's happening is that it should then display all the tasks in this plan, so that I can choose the tasks to add to the roadmap view. And then I'll see in a Gantt chart view those tasks associated with the plan. And that kind of, like I said, from a milestone perspective, would allow me to see the important tasks from each plan as it relates to the portfolio of plans that I'm looking at. And as part of that, I can add key dates, right? Let's say that, February 15th, it's, not set, but that date is going to be the device enrollment complete. So I've got, a date out here that I can begin to evaluate my tasks against. And I apologize, I apologize that this is just not, I really wanted to add some of these tasks to this roadmap, but this just isn't working, and I apologize for that. The intent is that you would see them all here, and there's a checkbox where each one of these vertical lines is that I can simply check and then add them to the roadmap view. All right, so that's a little bit about how that works. Getting back to some of the basics, because we've gone through some of the premium capabilities, getting back to some of the basics, whenever you have a task, let's say the task has 20 checklist items, because that's the maximum number of checklist items that you can have in a task. If we decide that the scope of that checklist item is too great for the task, maybe there needs to be a whole other task in the plan for that checklist item, we can simply click on this make this a new task icon, and it will do just that. It'll make a new task. You can see that it's placed it right beneath the task that I was just looking at. And I can go in here and add some additional descriptions, assign it, labeling, all of that type of stuff. So this is some of the tricks that are helpful to know when you're working with tasks. If for some reason, you've created this task in the wrong plan, you can move it. You can also connect it with goals, and you can see that I've got all of my goals listed here. And if you count these very quickly, you'll note that there are 10 of them. So when I click on create a new goal, nothing happens because I cannot create more than 10. If I want to see all of my goals, I can click on see goals. I can also click on it in the upper kind of toolbar area, and I can see the goals that I currently have listed and understand maybe what the due dates are, what the status is, and which tasks are mapped to each of those goals. Any questions around goals? I find goals very, very, very beneficial in order to prioritize work. So it's something that I use quite a bit. We spoke about charts. Here you can see charts based off of buckets, based off of effort per person. This whole effort and the amount of hours, I don't really like the way Planner handles effort. I'll be quite honest. It's kind of hard to manage, and it's not as robust as some other tools like Azure DevOps. But it is there. You can see it in a visualization, so that definitely helps. And note that when we talk about visualization, excuse me, I do like to use the timeline visual quite a bit, especially if I have dependencies, so that I can show this critical path. So what I'd like for you to take away from this is that when you create a plan, like I said, I like to go into the grid view, and whether you have your tasks grouped into milestones or not, doesn't matter if you're using things like buckets and labels and sprints, which is how I like to work a lot. But if you are more in this traditional kind of phased approach, like what you see on screen, totally cool. You can still maybe get your plan together and created and managed in this grid view using these subtasks, set up your dependencies, even work from this grid view to populate all of these different columns, including sprint, including goal, and then build out the different views that you might find beneficial for you. Now, before you could populate the sprint column in the grid view, you would have to come to the board view and add your sprints. So this is where, from a PM perspective, you'll need to think about how many sprints you need for your project, all of that good stuff. But you build out your sprints here, and then once in the grid view, you can add the sprint column and then begin to assign tasks to a given sprint. I know that for me, coming from a project world, the grid view makes a lot of sense for me to get the plan kind of up and moving. And then I pivot back to the board view to work with it from a day-to-day administrative perspective. Any questions, any comments? All right. There's lots to do within Planner and managing tasks within Planner. There's a lot of capabilities out there. We did not touch on all of them today. But when you have a Premium 3 or Premium 5 plan, keep in mind that you also have this cool co-pilot riding shotgun with you in Planner. And I didn't mention this because Copilot gets mentioned all the time. But you can use Copilot to do things like conditional formatting, where you change the color of a task based off of some criteria. I use it a lot for the conditional formatting logic. But generating a status report for the plan, that's pretty cool. Um, you can do a lot of things with Copilot in Planner with the premium license. So that being said, at the end of the deck that we were looking at,
Can I ask, Galen, can I ask a question around that, around the
yep,
Copilot? So Copilot, using Copilot within Planner requires two things. One, you have a Microsoft 365 Copilot license, and two, you have a premium Planner license, meaning you can't use your M365 Copilot license in just a basic Planner. Is that correct?
that's correct. So
Okay,
the Copilot in Planner is associated with the premium plan license that you have.
okay,
So
great.
there's a resources slide, and this last one, comparing work management options with pricing, that's the link that you're going to want to go to. And keep in mind that this is just all list pricing out on the site, right? But these are the different plans with their costs, and down below the different features that each has. So around Copilot, that is for Plan 3 and Plan 5.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep. All right. So we'll make sure to get this deck to you somehow, some way. And another thing which I think is pretty handy is this which task management tool is right for me. So, given that this is a user group, this is a community effort, I think that this particular um, open source publication is awesome for you to take a look at. It was last updated in February of last year, which is why I'm bringing this up. This is a community effort maintaining this documentation. So if you're interested in helping out to maintain this and update this, then please reach out to like Sharon or myself. We'd be happy to help you make contributions to the upkeep of information like this, but know that this type of stuff is out there. There are people that are trying to make sure that this is updated as frequently as they can to help all of us out. I find information like this very useful as long as it's refreshed. So wanted to highlight that. Um, let's see here. I know we just have, less than a minute left. So let me get back to first saying thank you and then asking if you have time to fill out this survey